This is going to be a video on Marx and on the Marx community, but more specifically on the social justice warrior part of the Marx community. They're really a very small part of the Marx community that is already in itself a small community. So it's a small part of a small community, and they're also the more vocal and obnoxious part of the Marx communities that is already vocal and obnoxious. So it's the most vocal. It's a small vocal obnoxious part, more vocal and obnoxious part of a small vocal obnoxious community. So my take on this is pretty much that it's, first of all, I want to say that I was blocked by two YouTubers, podcasters, whatever they were. One was Bruce Blitz, and I'm not sure why, because I don't remember saying anything to him. And the other guy, I almost know I've never said anything to him. That was a guy named JD from New York. Never said a word to this guy. Now, if it's possible, if I had ever said anything really shitty to them, I apologize, and it's me who apologizes, and I should be apologizing, and I'm sorry for whatever offense I caused you. But that's not what I think happened here. What happened here was I simply just fucking agreed with that. I disagree with these fucking ego freaks, ego maniac control freaks that they want everyone to think what they want. And again, here's the thing. These people block me. And that really sums up with what's wrong with the wrestling community. And I've seen this with other people. And this sums up what is wrong with Marx and what Marx are. And what social Marxists are. So, again, so unlike me, what they present themselves as, they present themselves as people that represent wrestling. I don't present myself as representing wrestling. I present myself as a person with an opinion, a strong opinion that I'm putting forth. But I don't claim to represent everyone. I never said I represent everyone. I have my viewpoints. They really speak for Marx, and they represent the wrestling community and what wrestling should do, and they know everything, and that's the way they present themselves. But again, these are people, they've never worked a day in the wrestling business. They don't interview wrestlers. They've never booked a match. They've never wrote a show of any kind that I know of, rather along a wrestling show. But they're going to tell you what wrestling should do, and they're going to tell these companies how they should be ran. And if you look at what's wrong with the wrestling business, and this is what I wanted to say, and if I had said this, they probably would have, they probably would have blocked me anyways, because again, it would have disagreed with their viewpoint. But one of the guys I know, JD from New York is a big time supporter of this women's wrestling movement, so much so that he complained about a fucking pay-per-view they did that was all female because he didn't like one of the girls that was on it. He didn't like one of the Bellas. So because she was in a match, a specific match on the show, he didn't want to watch any of it. And he was throwing a tantrum because that's what these people do over that. But, again, the women's revolution could have been done better, but it's not being done better. I'll give the guy credit. One of the guys was talking about why the wrestling industry is dead. Well, it's dead because of him and people like him, Marx, who do this shit. And the other part of the other guy was doing a video about Hulk Hogan, people complaining about an internet uproar over Hulk Hogan coming back, and how can Hulk Hogan, they let him back. And again, I'll give him credit for that, but that's because of him, and Marx like him, and the same people that supported the women's revolution, that's bullshit. And there's so many things wrong with all of that, really. But even he was saying, he says later in one video, I don't forgive necessarily Hulk Hogan. I didn't say any of that. He said he had every right to give some tribute to and honor his friend who died, Mean Gene Okerlund, and he was nice about that. I'm not dissing him for that. But even then, he's like, I don't forgive. You're going to forgive him for what? Because he said something stupid 12 years ago in a private video? Because that's the thing, you're not even supposed to see this, but some genius thought that would be a good idea to put a video of Hulk Hogan fucking someone up on the internet. And I have to ask, first of all, who the fuck, well, I'm not going to ask because I don't want to know who the fuck is looking up Hulk Hogan fucking someone, but even regardless of that, that was done in private. He was on drugs probably, fucking his friend's wife in front of him, and they were having like a three-way or something, and they were taping it, and he said some stupid shit in a video when the guy was probably on drugs 12 years ago, and you're going to forgive him for that? What is it to forgive him for? You're not even black, and you're going to goddamn bring up race and talk about racism? I mean, what kind of lame shit is that? And the entire thing is just so fucking stupid. But, and again, there's lots of races in the world. You're going to control every race. You're going to get rid of all racism. I would love to see you try to do that. It's impossible. It just so happens this was a wrestler, this was a racist with some talent, or he had something he was good at. That's the only difference. But as far as forgiving him, for what? Because he had an opinion? I mean, how does that affect what he does for a living? He's not running the government. He's a fucking wrestler. Who gives a shit? But beyond that, the women's revolution could have been done differently and better, and it wasn't because of people in the business, in the fucking Marx that wanted the women's revolution, and some people who weren't even Marx pretending to be Marx. But they, from the minute they made it political, they politicalized the movement. They made it about slapping men, beating up men. You have like 5 or 8 women beating up Ellsworth at one point, who's smaller than them anyways. And I remember they kicked him in the nuts at one point. He had a broken arm. You're talking about beating up men. They're bashing men. They're slapping every guy. Stephanie's slapping all the dudes. Every top guy in the company gets slapped. And the fact that you don't understand why that doesn't appeal. First of all, you don't even understand in some cases why that's political, but you sure as fuck don't understand why that doesn't appeal to an average American male viewer watching this that doesn't watch any entertainment format or program, especially fucking wrestling, to see women slap guys and to talk about female empowerment and to say men are oppressing them and bash the attitude era that most people, including a lot of Marx, like, and talk about why that era was not important and why that was bad for women. The fact you don't understand why most men don't want to see that is just miraculous to me. You want to see that because you're a fucking cuckold. I mean, that's your problem. It ain't mine. But beyond that, the UFC thing, that was something you fucking Marx pushed for. And then or at least we forget, you fucking marking out and celebrating and cheering for Lesnar destroying their top guy Cena a few years ago. And you talked about Cena burying people and Reigns burying people, and at least until recently, none of you even suggested, none of the Marks suggested even a little bit, except for me, if you can even call me a Mark, that maybe Lesnar kind of buries people, because he's been on there for like 4 or 5 years now. He barely ever loses anything. He's had the title on and off for 2 years. He held it straight for 1 year. He never shows up. He gets paid $6 million. He doesn't want to be there. He gets paid $6 million an appearance, whether he wrestles or not. He only wrestles on pay-per-views. And it's a goddamn waste of the damn company's money. He doesn't put anyone else over. And he's not all that good. Because he's a fucking... Why? Because he's a UFC fighter? Well, why don't you go watch UFC? Same thing for Rousey. And she does work hard, and she's good at what she does, and I'll put her over. And she's a real fan, and she's probably one of the better women on there. But once again, you have a UFC fighter beating the wrestlers, and she's holding the UFC... She's holding the damn women's title. So the man's holding the top male title, and the women that they're so proud of, they have to shove that up her ass every week. They have a UFC fighter holding that title. Then you've got Becky Lynch on there every week saying she's a man. And then you have her punking out Cena like anyone can buy that this chick could fight Cena. And what would that match look like if they did? Is it just going to be Cena for 20 or 30 minutes throwing himself around? Because they're not going to let Cena fight back. We've seen that. It's just going to be the girl beating up the guy. So he's going to have to throw himself around for 30 minutes in an unrealistic clusterfuck of a match to make her look good. And these are Mark ideals. Mark ideals. This is shit that Marks think are good. And a lot of it's cultural Marxism. It's not even the Marx. And it's cultural Marxist. And Ryan Satin's one of them. Vince Russo talks about him. I'm not even getting into that guy. But it's cultural Marxist, whoring their ideals, shoving it up the rest of our ass, pushing these ideals on us, and we don't want them. And it's not only destroying wrestling, it's destroying the entire country. And the Democrats, for example, they're obstructionists. They have a lot to do with this shit. It's a mess. And it's time we take our fucking country back. But the same people they get offended if their college, a right-wing, alternative right, alt-right speaker like Milo Yiannopoulos or someone, they go there and speak, they throw shit fit. They throw a riot. They have riots. They have a riot because that's their safe space. But yet we can't even have a show on TV, a wrestling show we like, without you cocksuckers getting on your soapbox and getting on the goddamn internet and talking about this is misogyny and oppressive to women and fuck yourselves. And that's my opinion. But again, Hogan, that's social Marxism. That's social Marxist Marx and people in the Mark community or pretending to be in the Mark community. And they did the same thing in Gamergate. But the only problem was enough Gamergates had enough intelligence, they kicked their ass out. They didn't support the fucking feminists. And Anita Sarkeesian, who turned out later on, she really wasn't even that much of a gamer. But it's incredible to me, you take over something, you come to something that other people like, and then you try to change everything about it. If you want to watch UFC, go watch UFC. Hey, I would rather watch UFC than WWE right now. I like Conor McGregor. He's very talented and interesting. I think McGregor's better. And he would be a good wrestler if it wasn't for the company and the marks fucking him up. But, that's the truth. That's my opinion. And, that's all.